Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining in today on our Ask Me Anything on how to apply. My name is Rebecca Vander Schaaf. I'm the Director of Admission here at the George Washington University's Graduate School of Education and Human Development. So today, I can advance that slide. There we go. We're going to talk about how to apply, who should apply, advice on submitting the online application, steps to complete your application beyond submitting that initial form, and then tips for success. And then I'll leave some time at the end too for questions and answers, and look forward to chatting with you guys. If you want to go ahead and start putting questions in the chat, that's totally fine, and I'll get to those at the end. But I'll get started here. So the first thing I guess I should say is that we call ourselves GSHED a lot. So if you hear me say that, it's an acronym. We're the Graduate School of Education and Human Development. The way we pronounce it doesn't make any sense, so bear with me on that. So who are we looking for? This really depends on which program you're applying to, right? But in general, we are looking for students who want to make a positive difference in their career field, be that education or counseling or leadership or whatever it might be. Two, we're looking for students whose professional goals match the education that we can provide. So we want to make sure long-term that we have happy alumni. And the way we want to start doing that is making sure that you would be going into a program where we'd be able to provide the skills that you need. And then three, we're looking for students who will do well in a rigorous academic program. So oftentimes people think immediately we're looking for strong GPAs, and that's certainly part of it. But we do take a holistic approach to reviewing applications at GW. And so we'll look at all aspects of your application to determine whether or not you might be a good fit. Some programs do have other prerequisites that are more specific than these I have just mentioned. So please do check the program webpage within our website to make sure that you meet any prerequisites that there might be for your program. And if you have questions, just let us know, and my office will be happy to walk you through all that. So when you're finally ready to go ahead and start applying, there's a big blue button right on the top of our website that you can go ahead and click, and that will take you to our application portal, which is called the Student Portal. We share this with all other schools at GW. And so it's, on the next page, I'll show you how to distinguish between the other schools and our school. But the first thing is you'll have to set up an account. If you don't have one already, you can click that sign up button, and it's pretty straightforward, just like creating an account with any other platform out there. So they'll want your email and a password, and then it'll get sent to your email, and you'll click the link from there. Once you have an account, this is what the first page of the application looks like. So this is you telling the system which application you want to use at GW. So you'll click graduate on that top question instead of undergraduate. We don't offer undergraduate programs within our school. And then you can select school, which would be the Graduate School of Human Development, Education and Human Development. Field of study means program or major. So that's where you'll select the program you're interested in. So for example, like school counseling or organizational leadership and learning. And then if there are multiple degrees offered within your program, you'll select from that list under degree. And then occasionally some of our programs ask for you to choose a concentration right up front. And so that's where you'll be asked to do that. And then you choose your start term from the available options there, and then you're good to go. So then you'll be in the application, and that's what this looks like. There's two. Most of this should be fairly straightforward. You're just answering questions as you go through, but there's two tips that I wanted to give. One, if a field has a red asterisk next to it where I pointed with that red arrow, it means it's required. So as you're going through this application, you can leave fields blank if they don't have that red asterisk. The other tip, which isn't shown here, but if you're filling in a date field within our system, it shows a red X on the right-hand side. That's the delete button. It doesn't mean anything's wrong with your date. So we get that question a lot. So make sure to ignore that red X. So as you go through the application, there's a few things you'll be asked to upload or submit along the way. So you have the option of uploading copies of your transcripts. I recommend doing this if you have access to them. They can be unofficial during the admission process. So if you have a copy of a transcript that shows all of your courses and grades from one of the degrees that you've earned, go ahead and upload that. It'll save you time later and it'll make the process go a little bit faster. It'll ask you for a statement of purpose. Some programs have specific prompts for their statement of purpose, and I'll give you a couple other tips for that essay later. But you do have to upload something there in order to submit the application. Same with resume. I'll give you a couple tips in a few minutes for that too, but that's something that's required in order for you to submit the online application form. And then we do ask for you to submit recommender names. And the reason we do this is because when you submit the information for your recommender, as soon as you click save, the system will automatically email your recommenders. So make sure you let them know that they're going to be receiving that before you go ahead and submit their information in there. But that link that they receive is helpful because that's how they will upload their letter of recommendation on your behalf. If you have questions as you go through the online application, please just let us know. We're happy to help and make sure that you don't run into any glitches or get confused on any of these steps. All right, so I want to talk a little bit more about the statement of purpose. So the first thing, of course, is to check to see if your program has a prompt. I think in the application, there's actually a link that you can click that will go to a place where you can search for your program, and then it'll show you if it does have a prompt. This information is also available just on our general website under your program page. So if you're looking at information about your program anyway, and you go to that admission section, it should tell you whether or not there's a specific prompt required. Either way, I would suggest keeping your essay to about 1 to 2 pages, or if there's a word count that's specified, then keep your essay to that length. You don't have to go on forever, but this is a good writing sample and a really good chance for you to tell your story. So this is your voice into your application. Explain why you want to join GW, why you're interested in this program, and what you hope to do with this information and these skills after graduation. And then, of course, check spelling, grammar, general essay structure, all of that normal stuff. I hope this is a little bit helpful. And then, so this is where you would find the statement of purpose prompt. So I'm on a random program page here. And this is the admission section. And right here, it just says statement of purpose, and it'll give you, this one is a fairly lengthy prompt. Some of them are a little bit shorter, but hopefully this will be helpful. All right, so let's talk about the resume. Unlike when you're applying to a job and people tell you, keep your resume to just 1 page, we don't really care about that. You can make it as long as you want. Go ahead and surpass 1 or 2 pages. Some of our PhD candidates especially will have a fairly lengthy resume, and that's just fine. It can be a CV, it can be a resume. There's no format required. I would encourage you to include your educational experiences, professional and volunteer experiences. Make sure you're including start and end dates so that our faculty review committee has a good idea of how long your experiences were. And then please do save as a PDF to protect your formatting so that it doesn't appear all jumbled in our application review system. But pretty much you have free reign here in terms of format and what you want to include. For letters of recommendation, this is often the trickiest thing to complete your application. So the first thing would be check what kind of recommenders, if any, your program requires. Certain programs, like our education policy program, require academic references, not professional ones. So that's really important for you to know up front. once you've determined that and you've identified people you want to ask to write a letter of recommendation on your behalf, again, as I mentioned before, as soon as you put their information into our application and click save, they'll get emailed with a link saying, this person has requested a letter of recommendation from you. Please click here to submit one, which can be a little awkward if you haven't chatted with them already. So make sure you chat with them before you put them in our application. Suggest that your recommender use letterhead and actually sign their letter. I do sometimes see like phone notes uploaded, and I'll typically reject those because they're a little unprofessional. So letterhead is great. Just a normal piece of Word document or something, it's fine for their letter. Just make sure that it looks professional. And then you certainly don't have to, but I would suggest asking your recommender to submit their letter within a certain amount of time. This is often the piece of the application that causes a delay. So you might think that your application, you've submitted everything you can, but you're just waiting on your recommender to submit their letter. So if there's a way that you can give them a soft deadline or encourage them to submit by a certain date, sometimes that can help move things along. So besides that online application form, I have mentioned a few other documents that are required in order to complete the application. And so this is a basic list of those requirements. We need to see your transcripts from prior institutions. So we want to see all courses and grades that you've taken and gotten. We need the specified number of letters of recommendation that are required for your program. That number ranges between 1 and 3. So that information would be on the program page. Some programs require a writing sample, and typically there will be instructions about that. So our elementary education program requires that, and then some of our doctoral programs as well. And then test scores are, we've pretty much waived the GRE for all of our programs, but we do require English language test scores occasionally for some of our international students. And information about that is on our website, where if you have questions, just let us know and we'll be happy to work with you on that. Once we have all of these documents, your file goes along to our review committee, and they'll take a look at your application and make a decision. So my tips for you, number one, there is a spot in the application about financial aid where you can indicate your interest in scholarships. If you are interested in receiving scholarship money, I would suggest indicating your interest at that point. It doesn't require an essay. It's really just like a box. You just check yes or no. Very, very easy. Sometimes easy to miss too. But that can be really helpful. If you've indicated your interest in scholarships, you're much more likely to see one if your program and you are eligible in that admission letter that you will hopefully receive. 2, you are only allowed to apply to one program at a time. If you're interested in multiple programs or you want to have a backup option, talk to our team and let us know, and we can help work with you. You really can only apply to one program at a time, but sometimes we can help make sure that if you aren't admitted to that program, we can help navigate the process to being considered for a different one too. So just let us know if that's your case. 3, complete the application as early as you can. Don't feel bad if you've missed a prior deadline, still go ahead and submit it. But I would say the earlier you can submit all of your documents, the better for us, of course, but also better for you. We want to make sure that you have a decision as early as possible so that you can have as much time as you need to consider options and then plan accordingly. And then 4, please do connect with us. We'd love to chat with you guys. You can schedule a meeting with your admission representative with the QR code there or through that link, and learn more about your program and chat more about this process, financial aid, student employment, all of that good stuff. So we'd love to connect with you one-on-one as well. So I'm going to stop there. I'd be happy to answer questions. It looks like the chat is very popular right now. So I'm going to start going through it slowly, and please feel free to continue typing questions in there. So the first question is about interviews, which I actually didn't mention. So I'm glad this came up. And the question is, when do we typically hear back from for the interview round? This is really program specific. Not all of our programs require an interview. Some do, some don't. If your program does require an interview, typically you'll be invited via an email, and you can schedule that interview directly with the faculty. If you're worried about not hearing back yet, let me know, and we can work on that. But typically that interview request comes maybe like a few weeks after you've submitted your application, depending on the program. A question about adding a recommender after you've submitted the online application. That's totally fine. That happens all the time. If you forgot to include someone, don't worry about it. If you want to email our admission office, you can go ahead and do that with the recommender's information, and we can make sure to send them the link that they need. But they could also just email their letter directly to us, and that's fine too, and we'll upload it from the back end. So don't worry, we're happy to accept their letters, even if you forgot to put them in that online application. One person asked if it's possible to schedule an in-person visit. Absolutely, we would love to have you come visit. We actually have an upcoming open house on January 25th, I believe. I just got a nod, so confirmation that yes, that is true. And so you're welcome to go sign up for that. We'll have one in February, an event in March that's not yet published, and then another open house in April. So happy to see you on any of those days. And then if you want to visit campus on a different day, we'd be happy to navigate that with you and schedule a meeting and a tour, and get you all set up. Let's see. Question about how many PhD students in education we accept each year. Well, that's a great question, and one I don't fully know the answer to, because it really does depend on the different concentrations and whether or not they're recruiting. Last year, we had 8 incoming PhD students for education. So I don't know if that helps at all, but it is a competitive program. The faculty are basically looking for research partners and their students. So it's as much of almost like a job interview process as it is an academic review process. Someone's asking if it's possible to make a change to the statement of purpose after submitting the application. Absolutely. Just let us know. Again, we're happy to switch out your statement of purpose, or even your resume, any sort of document behind the scenes. That's very easy for us to do. So if you want to just send us the updated document to our email address, we'll go ahead and get that switched for you. A question about the international transcript evaluation. So this is specific to students who've studied outside of the United States. And okay. This is a special case. So the student is finishing the degree in a university that's accredited by the United States. Typically that the evaluation is waived in that case. If it's accredited by a regional accreditation body in the United States, the evaluation will be waived. I hope that answers the question, but let me know if not. Question about deadlines for fall 2023. These are listed on our website. We just are extending our January 16th deadline. So actually, if you submit an application by this Friday, we will consider you as meeting the January 16th deadline. So you still have a little bit of time if you want to apply this month. And then after that, for most programs, the next deadline will be March 1st. So there's definitely time to apply for summer and fall 2023. I think I answered that question. Okay. So do recommenders need to have their letters ready when we apply? No, typically recommendation letters will come in after the application is submitted. So it's totally fine to go ahead and submit the application form and then send the other supporting documents after that. That's very normal, and no bother to us at all. So feel free to do it that way. It looks like a question about international transcripts evaluation and when it comes in. If you're worried about it, just let us know and we can make sure with your program that it's okay for that to come in a little bit later. But typically it's normal for a transcript evaluation to come in after you've submitted your application. We know it's an external agency, so it does take some time to get that. Someone's asked, they've submitted the application form and it's under review. Should I resubmit it? Probably not. If you're worried about how long it's taking, just let us know and we can check into it. But submitting another form probably won't help. Is it still possible to apply to the Master's in Clinical Mental Health Counseling? Yes, you can go ahead and apply. We do have a final deadline that was January 16th. So it is possible your application will or will not be reviewed, but if you have questions about that program, definitely reach out to us and we can work with you. Question about the statement of purpose. Is it okay to be under the word count? It's probably okay. It really depends on the program. I feel like that's my answer to every question right now. But if you're worried about it, let us know. But it should be okay if your statement of purpose is shorter. A question about knowing the status of your application. So if you log back into your application portal after you've submitted it, you should be able to see the status of your application there. We do have an application checklist that's updated manually. And so it should be correct, but if it's not, let us know. And that's where you can sort of see where your application is. That's also where your admission decision letter would appear. And we, of course, send you an email as well when that's ready, but that's where you would see the official letter. A question about the English test. Someone's been working in the USA for the past 4 years. Do they still have to do the English test? Probably yes. We do require that an English test score if you did not matriculate from a university in a handful of countries that's listed on our website. So yes, likely it is required. We do take the TOEFL, the IELTS, and the Duolingo English test, which I believe is the least expensive option and pretty quick to complete. So I'd recommend that one if you're concerned about that. Okay. A question about academic references. This is a really common question. So if you've been out of school for a while and you are no longer in touch with faculty members, but you are being asked to provide academic letters of reference. Again, I would let us know if that's your situation and your program is requiring them, and we can see if there's a way for an exception to be made. I can't promise it because it's up to the program faculty, but we can certainly try and work that out. A question about preparing for the interview. We don't necessarily provide materials for helping you prepare for the interview, but I would go over your statement of purpose, that just sort of your general application materials, make sure you have a good understanding of how to tell your story in an interview. And then I would also recommend making sure to reread the program page, understand what questions you have about the program, and sort of approach a program interview as just as much that you're answering questions about yourself as you're interviewing them. So ask the faculty, you know, what's the best part about their program, and make sure that the resources that you think you would need and the skills that you want to learn are part of that program. I hope that helps. Let's see. Lots of questions about the English test. Sorry, I'm trying to read these and combine them into one answer if I can. So it's okay for the English test to arrive after you've submitted the application form, and we'll certainly let you know if what's missing from your file. So if it's still missing, we'll be in touch with you. If you studied, if you went to high school in the United States, but you studied for your university degree abroad, typically you do not need to take the English language test. So So yes, that it would be waived in that circumstance. All right. So there's a couple questions about what to do after you're admitted. And we actually have a different webinar coming up that's going to address those questions. So I'll make a little bit of a plug for that one. There's a webinar in a few weeks about what to do after you're admitted. So I highly encourage you to attend that, but I'm not going to answer those questions in this webinar specifically. We do not require high school transcripts. There's a question about that. So no, you do not need to submit high school transcripts, just bachelor's and then beyond if you've done any graduate coursework. Let's see. There's a couple of questions that are more specific to programs. So question about like, will I have a supervisor or an advisor? Yes, that is part of the academic experience. It does somewhat depend on the program. So I would suggest attending an information session about your program of interest if you want more information about that, or just let us know and we'll be happy to schedule a chat with you and talk about more program details. All right. I always feel like I'm getting to the end of your questions and they just keep coming, which is great. So keep them coming as you have them. All right. So somebody has asked about applying for just one program at a time, and they've already applied for 2 programs. We can work with you on that. Let me follow up with you directly to figure that out with you. But that's not a problem. We'll figure out what to do with that, and we can guide you. We don't provide services to read or review your statement of purpose and resume. In fairness to everybody, we'd have to do it for everybody or nobody. So we don't review statements of purpose or resumes prior to you submitting your application. There's a question about which programs we offer online versus in person. If you actually go to our website and hover over the academics tab, there's a tab that'll show up that says online programs. And if you click there, you'll be able to see all of the programs that we have that are just online. And hopefully that will help. A question about if you have a dismissal record from attending a university. There's a spot in the application where you can mention if you had any issues during your prior education. And there's a spot there where you can explain as well. Typically, those aren't a problem, I guess, depending on the issue. But we certainly appreciate the explanation and information on any prior academic or personal issues you've had in your prior education. Question about if you've attended GW before. This is a very good question about transcripts. So my office is not able to pull GW transcripts, even though we are GW, we can't pull them for students. So if you're applying and you have attended a GW program in the past, you do need to submit that transcript with your application. It can be unofficial for the review process. We don't require official transcripts until you're in your first semester of a program. There are instructions on our how to apply page for how to submit GW transcripts. So we'll break it down for you. It is free. It doesn't cost you any money to do that. But if you have any questions, just let us know. A question from a returning student. If you are reapplying to a program that you previously left, I would probably just let us know or let your student services advisor know, and we can check to see if there's any additional requirements for you. Typically there's not, but we're happy to look into it. Someone asked how quickly you'll hear about your admission once you've completed your application. So once you've completed your application, typically, depending on the program, I guess, typically people will hear within about 3 to 6 weeks. For certain programs, it could be longer. Our clinical mental health counseling program does typically take a little bit longer. But But if you're worried or you feel like you need a faster decision, please do let us know, and I'd be happy to bug the faculty for you. So just give me a heads up. And it looks like there's a couple of really specific questions. So I will, if you've written me a really specific question that I can't answer here, I'll try to follow up with you separately via email and answer your question in that way. A question about the English test again. So if your undergraduate studies were in English, it really depends where you attended school as to whether or not that test is waived. But again, if you have questions about that, just let us know. We'd be happy to help you with that. A question about financial aid and the cost of the program. Really, really important topic. And we have an upcoming webinar on that too. So please feel free to join me for that one. I'll be talking about how to finance your education and how to calculate the cost of the program and your return on investment. But for the sake of right now, just to get you started, there is a how to fund your education tab under the admissions section of our website. And that will give you a link to where you can find your tuition and fees. And then it'll also tell you a little bit about scholarships. But there's more to that topic. So I'd be happy to share more during that other webinar and we can dive deeper into that. Most of our doctoral programs do require an interview. Someone's asking about that. So I would expect that if you're applying to a doctoral program, you will probably be required to do an interview. Someone's asking about the process for getting a full scholarship. Again, try to attend my other webinar on financial aid. We don't typically offer full scholarships unless you are going to be a graduate assistant. So most of our students are funding their education through a variety of ways, including scholarships, but not limited to those. Let's see, someone's saying they cannot submit the unofficial transcript. If you're having trouble submitting a transcript, please do let us know. You should be able to get a response fairly quickly from our office. And if you're not, you can feel free to email me directly too, and I can take a look as well. Looks like we're reaching the end of the questions here. I think there's a question. I think what it's asking is if we require a master's degree for the doctoral programs, and typically the answer is yes, you need to have a bachelor's and a master's before applying to our doctoral programs. Oh, good question. The minimum Duolingo English score is on our website, so you can look for those there, but I believe the minimum score is 110. I think I made it to the end of the questions. Again, if I didn't answer your question, I will try to get back to you via email too, or feel free to also reach out to me. And I'm happy to continue the conversation that way. But I do hope this was helpful for all of you. And I look forward to seeing you apply and hopefully be admitted and join us here on campus. We'd love to have you. Thanks, everyone.